Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, our frontline workers are absolutely our heroes. They have been since the beginning. Those heroes are starting to burn out. What can we do about it? That's next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've burglar in his...
He's a life coach and physician. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, before we get into COVID-19 and the burnout, I want to hear your journey.
I grew up in Florida with a single mom and always wanted to be a doctor. And my sister will tell you that I used to get my little doctor bag when she'd come home and I was sick as a child. And so I think that played a big part in it, and decided to become a doctor, sort of growing up in a really dysfunctional family. And I was 15 and paying rent to my mom and sort of on my own since that time. Wow. Yeah. And so went to medical school and then became an aunt, got married to a doctor, have 2 lovely daughters, ended up getting into sort of a difficult marriage, got divorced, became a single mom. Working full time, a lot of administrative roles and things that I was doing, and I knew I had to figure it out because I had to take care of my daughters and I had to take care of my patients, and I wanted to be happy, and so started on a journey, met some wonderful people that really helped me along the way, and I thought I had it all figured out. And then someone close to me ended up having an addiction. So that was a big turning point in my life because it was sort of an intervention for my life as well as theirs. And I was like, what do I know? And I decided I wanted to help people in a different way. Like, I love being an anesthesiologist, but I only get to meet them once and take care of them once. And so I wanted to use the things that have happened to me in my life to help other women physicians who I know have been them through that journey so that they can actually have the lives they want, because there's so many women physicians promoted a lot on potential, and women have to go above and beyond.
And you can't work remote. So during last year's, the height of COVID, when it's suddenly school teachers, that's got to add even more stress.
Yeah, so a lot of women during COVID, physicians had to leave medicine, and they were actually furloughed more than men were and got larger pay cuts. And more positions were lost. And so it also, if you were an academic physician, meaning they lost academic productivity, so not being able to publish papers and do the things that we need to do to get promoted. And so they're talking about women being set back 2 decades. Yeah.
That's horrifying.
Yes.
You're also very popular with podcasts. We're going to put up on the screen.
Thanks.
It seems like you're being interviewed all the time. This one was Life Coaching for Women's Physician Podcasting, How to Avoid Burnout as a Woman Physician.
Yes.
It's fun for you to educate people, isn't it?
This coaching is like an unknown thing in medicine. And so in the sports arena, in the business world, it's been around for decades. I mean, most major executives have a coach. So we're like, no, we know how to do it. We don't need a coach. But it's now in the literature, and it's been proven in studies that coaching for physicians decreases. Talking about it because when I work with my clients in my life coaching company, you see them, they get on the first call and they're usually they're miserable. They don't know what to do. And after a few sessions, they start smiling and they start getting some joy back. And when that happens, it affects every area. And we know that burned out physicians make more medical errors, and it's not great for patient care. And so the teens degrade physicians. The rate of substance abuse is out the roof. And actually, I don't know if you know this, but physician suicide is
I didn't know
crazy.
That.
So 400 physicians a year kill themselves. That's survey driven. With COVID, it's gone out the roof, and especially for women physicians.
You also recently published an article, The Effects of COVID-19 on Women Physicians. Where did you publish that?
So that was in the American Society of Anesthesiologists Journal. It's a monthly edition called The Monitor. Yeah. That it was one of the most looked at articles. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what's going on?
Well,
so that was amazing.
It speaks to the problem that you're addressing. And so I want to talk about the clients you help and how people engage you. What's the process like?
So we have a consult call, and we talk about the things that are working in their life and what's not working. What we call limiting beliefs, because we all have these beliefs that we've internalized since we've been tiny, born, from the time we've been born. from our parents, our families of origin, social media. Like, women tend to feel that they're not worthy unless they get external validation. So the way we've been socialized, and because of the patriarchy, we're worth from achievements and from validation by men, frankly.
Right.
And
I
so most women physicians, although we are so professional, imposter syndrome and perfectionism, and those two together are a vicious cycle. But we also have these great sense of self-doubt and I shouldn't have done this. And it's this constant hamster wheel in your brain about how inadequate you are. And so with all of the actual biases against, so just being a woman, then you're a woman physician. So it's just compounded. And sexual harassment is alive and well, I will tell you that.
Wow.
And it is egregious, the things that happen.
When you first became a doctor, did you have patients saying, when is the doctor going to be here?
Oh, still, even
Really?
now. And if I'll go in and introduce myself as doctor, and then they'll still call me a nurse. It's interesting because gender bias, women do it to women very often also. And I've had nurses that will call me by my first name in front of patients. And if we're not in front of a patient, by all means, you can call me by my first name, but don't do that in front of a patient because they won't.
Such a successful life coach because you have great empathy.
Yeah.
And not everybody who becomes a doctor has bedside manner, doesn't really know peace is critical to be successful as a life coach.
It is, but I'm going to add one thing about that. So, the medical system and medical training sort of beats empathy out of you, because what it does is it makes you have to go through so many different things and see so much people that you have to sort of become a little bit of a robot, and all of those pieces of you that used to be there before you started on this journey to become a doctor or on a shelf had to shut down those pieces. So you have to learn how not to feel, like, for the most part, And so I think most physicians at some point lose their empathy for a while because they just are trying to survive.
And I love it that you've suffered from burnout yourself. There's
Yes.
counselors out there who are single and,
Yeah.
and you're like, wait a minute, how are you? How are you giving me advice? So
Yeah.
I mean, do you find that the fact that you've walked, it creates rapport?
It does, because I can talk to them and know their language because I've been there. And I still, on a day-to-day basis, we still face things in the medical system. The medical system is broken. And so if you look at me as 100% of a person determined by the medical system, and 20% is what I have control over. So that's what I try to help my clients get control over, is that 20%, so that when they go back into the medical, that they can function and it doesn't steal their life. Because there's never been a time in medicine where I could look at my phone and I have 24/7 access to information that I have to look at all the time about patients. So, and I'm an anesthesiologist, so it is in no way, shape, or form like an internal medicine doctor or primary care doctors, and it's constant away from it.
When we were on your website and we saw the testimonial page, and we're going to put that up on the screen, that's got to really bless your heart when you see wonderful testimonials. Is that what gets you out of bed in the morning?
It really does. And I trying to decide if they're going to leave medicine, and then they're not going to leave medicine anymore, and they can really maybe not love their job again, but they really enjoy their job again. And we reflect back on, like, remember when you got accepted to medical school, remember how excited you were. But the main thing for women, is like self-care, because we take care of everybody else. We sacrifice when we actually start working on that, like really realizing how amazing you are. And let's look at that, every piece of what you do, and let's start getting you back self, and then things begin to change. And then so it's one-on-one coaching, and we usually do at least 12 sessions, usually weekly or every other week. And we just start thoughts, actually. So the way that I interpret a situation is different than another person, but we break down, like, what's the truth, like what's a fact, and what's the stories. Right. And I have to be honest, like, with my history of trauma in my life and being close to someone with an addiction, like, I talk to these women, and I would say that out of 10 clients, at least 8 have been exposed to, like, a parent or a spouse or somebody with addiction.
Wow.
And they don't. This is what happens when you grow up with a father who's an alcoholic. And what we're really finding is, and I thought this for years, there's all this new literature. Why would somebody sacrifice their entire life to become a doctor? Like, why would they all their friends are getting married and having kids, but they have another 10 or 15 years of training, and they miss weekends, nights, holidays. Like, you sacrifice so much. It has to be because we suffered some trauma in our life. And so what they're finding is that people who have suffered trauma or been ill as a child or been like a caregiver really lead you to medicine, because you want to be heard and you want to be respected, and you want to actually, because you weren't as a child, and so you want to do something that you think is going to give you a voice.
Well, I'm so impressed with you. One, I hope the audience can pick up on her passion, because she eats, sleeps, and breathes this.
Yeah.
And it just occurred to me that your entire adult life as an anesthesiologist, you've been saving lives, literally.
Yeah.
But now I think you're doing it in another way, through really just having a listening ear, having somebody to reflect back a truth to them that they might not see.
Coaching. There's this amazing woman. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, Brooke Castillo. She's
I've heard the name.
playing the life coach school. So that's where I went, and that's where most physicians go. And literally through this process, you learn how to intentionally create the results that you want in your life by looking at your thoughts. And it's
so powerful.
It is so powerful.
Okay, so let's a takeaway. If somebody's watching this right now and they're a physician and they're facing burnout, what are some actionable things that they can do right now?
So there are so many areas to get help. So coaching is amazing. Also, therapy is very helpful, and they work really well together. But getting somebody who's going to be your support system, and to actually start looking at how we can work on making things better. Because when you start actually getting control of things in your life, you actually gain time. So the main thing is this overwhelm and exhaustion and just feeling like they're failing at everything, and actually get life. So I always coaching, self-care, so nutrition, exercise, and sleep is critical. Morning routines like breath work, and already your brain's on a hamster wheel, and you're to time